I want to do a real quick breakdown on what happened last night in the Keller Independent School District at their recently called school board meeting. Now, I had talked a little bit in my podcast about it, but I wanted to do more a little bit, just sort of an unfiltered, unedited version of what I saw. Because in just a real quick synopsis, recently on social media, it had been revealed that there were certain board members who were working behind the scenes on a plan to divide the Keller Independent School District into two smaller districts, one that would be called Keller ISD, and then the other one that would be called Alliance ISD. And they were literally dividing this school district by the railroad tracks. And so you can just imagine an east side of town, west side of town sort of scenario divided by railroad tracks. And yes, more affluent side of town would be on the eastern side, while the western side would be the more struggling, less affluent side of town. It just stunk of maybe some subtle racism, and it also was done in behind the scenes and back doors. It wasn't done in open meetings, so there were a lot of violations of the Texas Open Meetings Act. And a lot of concerns that only a handful of board members were making this suggestion. I don't want to say they were making this move, but they were making this suggestion, and they were leaving out other board members that were part of the school board. And it just so happened that the board members they were leaving out lived on the other side of the tracks. And so a lot of it just on the surface, particularly through social media, it just appeared, very corrupt, at least from the comments that you read and the story that was reported. But look, I'm not out of line here talking about this. Fort Worth Star-Telegram picked up on this. All the local news stations picked up on this. Local reporters from Austin even drove up to attend the school board meeting to see what was happening in Keller ISD. So I'm not out of line to talk about this from the perspective. And look, I live in the community. I don't live in Keller ISD, but I live nearby. So I am very close to the action of what's happening. So to say that, my suggestion here, obviously I take an educational leadership point of view on all of these things, and I watch, what the superintendent did last night because, it had been suggested that the person that was hired for this job was hired to sort of fulfill the duties of this suggested board. It has more of a conservative leaning slant on banning books and transgender issues, and that's what sort of some of the issues that they got elected on. But I digress. That's for another topic. But last night, at the specially called board meeting to address this dividing up of the district, and the rationale provided for dividing up the district was, of course, financial issues. Again, for another podcast, we can talk about how school districts got into this situation, but there are a lot of struggling school districts right now with money. They were not fully funded in the last legislative session, and so a lot of districts were struggling with where are we going to get the money. You have to cut teachers, maybe even close schools. You have to redo some of your resources and your programming. There's a lot of things that school districts do to sort of manage financial issues, and this proposal to divide the school district was recommended as a way of sort of getting ahead of some of the financial issues that Keller would be facing. So, but because of the nature of how it was being proposed, not in the open, in the back room, via text message, between board members that were involved and others who were not involved, their hand was forced in order to call a school board meeting last night. And I even posted this in one of the Facebook groups that I'm in. I just wanted to say that by watching it, and yeah, nerdy enough to sit down and watch a live YouTube feed of a school board meeting, to see this drama unfold. And frankly, it was better than anything Taylor Sheridan could have written for Paramount Plus, because the speakers were engaged, amazing. And what I really appreciated was how the Keller ISD community came out in support of their kids, their teachers, their community members. Speakers came out and talked on behalf of other people in their neighborhood. There were people who said, I've never been a part of a school board election before. This is my first time. That level of civil engagement is just outstanding. And it was amazing to see over 2.5 hours of public comment of just person after person after person coming up there to defend their schools, defend their teachers, defend their district, give the rationale for I bought a house here, I moved here because of the schools. Because the problem is that a lot of people don't realize is that when your home value goes down, the schools are going to struggle. People move to areas because of the schools. That's one of the major reasons that realtors will tell you, hey, the schools are great here. That's a selling point for people to move into a community. And it's a responsibility of a superintendent to see that through. So a couple of things I wanted to point out. One, the community, outstanding job. Fantastic what I saw community members doing, speaking on behalf of even low-income neighbors. I saw one person who came up and said, I'm speaking on behalf of the Mexican-American community that I live in that don't have the time. They're working right now. They can't be here to complain about these things. I appreciated that. The second thing that I was just stunned and surprised was how, it had been rumored that the superintendent of the district, Dr. Tracy Johnson, had been brought in sort of as a person to ensure that the board's mission and vision would be carried out as they have been elected on a lot of conservative leading issues. And so after all of this drama unfolded, she very shockingly, I thought, was ready to tenure her resignation. That I'm not going to be a part of this. If y'all vote for the splitting of this school district tonight, then I will not be a part of this and I will walk. And I was just like, hats off to you. Until I started thinking about it. We need strong leadership. Okay, so to walk away right now would just be a slap in the face to the teachers and students who don't have a choice to walk away. They have to be there. So I kind of see both sides on this. And what I would tell my students is that, sometimes in the most difficult times, you got to be the one to step up and right the ship. And this is one of those difficult times to do that. And even if they had voted to divide the district in half, you would be a leader of one of those districts. So step up and lead. And so I had a little trouble with it, but I did admire her bravery to stand up in front of all those people and go, look, this is I'm not on board with this, and I'm going to walk. I also had an appreciation for the two board members who stood up against their colleagues to say, you know what, this is wrong. There are other ways we can go about this. It is time to have a community discussion. And if we go into executive session, I don't want attorneys there because I don't want attorney-client privilege. And all these discussions should be open. We should be having more talks about this, and don't want to vote for this today. So I admire the board members who are willing to stand up for this. So this Keller ISD issue is going to unfold. It's going to be, several days and months down the road. But it was suggested that, they would vote for this tonight and they would execute this plan before the end of the year, and that, the new school district, Alliance ISD, which I think is trademarked and they actually can't even use that, but that was a whole nother issue I learned last night, that they're going to have to go to the community and let the community's voice be heard in this. And then, but my gut tells me, and we'll have to watch and see if this happens, but my gut tells me that ultimately this is going to pass. And what we see as Keller ISD today likely won't be what we know as Keller ISD in the future. So we'll have to keep an eye on it. I will keep an eye on it, and I will update everybody as we push forward throughout the semester and the school year. But I just wanted to take a moment to just say, wow, Keller ISD community, congratulations on at least pumping the brakes on this horrible idea and forcing the school board to take a step back. And you know what? You got to do what's right for kids. You got to do what's right for teachers, and you got to do what's right for this community. And I just want to remind everybody that your locally elected school board, which I'm usually very strong to defend because they are public servants who step up to do a job that is frankly very difficult. But your job is very simple. Hire and fire a superintendent, follow through with local board policy, and make sure that the school curriculum is being followed as it should be, and set the tax rate and the budget. That's it. That's really your job. But so because of that, you're not a politician. You don't run for this office with a D or an R in front of your name. You run for this office as a public official, a public servant. And there is a very, very strong difference between being a public servant and being a politician. And I would say to all school board members, Keller ISD and all over the world, you are not politicians. Your job is to do what's in the best interest of students, teachers, parents, and the community. And that is it, nothing more. So I would encourage Keller and other school board members, take your politics, wrap them up, and force them somewhere else and keep them out of our schools. That's it. That's all for me. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. And I will see you soon. Bye.